So five, when we monetized this last week, the volume cut out. But nonetheless, guys, the show must go on. So we're going to get into part five and part six all at the same time. We're going to merge two into one. I got one illustration on the board. And like I said, guys, not to waste any time, we're going to get straight into it. If you guys aren't watching this video should be up. I'm not turning on my Wi-Fi. So, guys, I think something's going on with my Wi-Fi. Whenever I turn on my Wi-Fi prior to making a live video and I turn my Wi-Fi off, right when I end the live video, something happens to YouTube. Either it turns off my microphone or I don't know what's going on, guys. But nonetheless, guys, I know what's going on. So, I got to try to, make a different move because I'm not trying to redo every single fucking live video of everything I make. Like I said, I don't know what the hell's going on. But nonetheless, man, guys, what I'm going to do is I didn't bring my flashcards, but I remember at least two very important questions I had. One being tied to some literature that I brought. But the first question I got is, and I actually looked at this before I left the house, before I came to the office here tonight. The first question is, can you put in a bigger size capacitor versus what the system is rated for? And what will happen if you put in a bigger size cap? Guys, this is quite controversial. And I'm going to show you this here. Let's take a look here, guys. And I drew a simple illustration on the board. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, if you have a 35, let's say a 35-5 microfarad cap, let's see here. And like I said, guys, I'm going to make the illustration quite simple. I'm not going to try to make this I'm not going to try to make this more complicated than what it needs to be. Let's say this is a dual cap. I'm not even going to say that this is a regular run cap. Let's put these all as dual caps here. All right. So if you have, hypothetically speaking, a 35-5 microfarad run cap, if you didn't know what the system was rated for, and I say this very generously because sometimes, guys, like I said, well, I'm not going to say sometimes, most of the time, you should know what the system is rated for, either from seeing the data info on the old cap, or for two, I mentioned this in previous shorts. Like I said, you guys should know how to find info on the current system that you're trying to figure out what size cap the system is rated for. You should know how to find that info. But let's say, hypothetically speaking, if you know for sure that the system was rated for a 35-5 cap, let's say, I can give you a perfect scenario. Let's say if you guys are on a no AC call. This is an 85-year-old AC unit, hypothetically speaking. And the only thing that's legible, the model and serial number is faded away. The compressor is totally rusted over. The compressor is still running, but the outdoor fan is not running. Now, you have a bad outdoor fan motor. Well, you have an outdoor fan motor that's not running, and the capacitor is swollen over. However, you can't figure out what size the capacitor is. Well, no, actually, as a matter of fact, let's go back here. You know what size the capacitor is. Everything else is rusted over. So the only thing that's legible on this AC condenser is the data plate on the capacitor, but the model and serial number of the unit, everything's faded away. The model and serial number of the compressor is faded away. Now, here's my thing, guys. I say that to say this. Let's say if you guys know what size capacitor was on the old unit. However, the issue is you guys don't know. Well, the issue is you guys don't have that size capacitor that came from a unit. You don't have this on a truck. This example, you don't have a 35-5 microfarad capacitor on a truck. Now, here's where, like I said, guys, if you ask, 100 different people, you might get 100 different scenarios. Once again, guys, like I said, I can tell you what worked for me. Different companies may require different scenarios. Depends on where you at. And like I said, who you're training under, you have to, abide by, that set of certain circumstances. But here's the deal, guys. if you have a 35-5 microfarad run cap, let's say if you don't have anything remotely close to this size, I'll tell you like this, you have either one or two scenarios, and it depends, once again, on the circumstance. If I don't have anything on my truck, let's say I don't have, 35-5s, but I got a 40-5. Here's the thing, guys. Once again, and I'm going to reiterate this, you should always abide by what you took out. If you took out a 35-5 and you can verify that that was the original size capacitor that was in the unit. Once again, this is for an outdoor AC system. So this is a dual cap. This isn't the run cap that's inside. If you can verify that this is the proper size for the outdoor AC unit, you should always abide by the same size and make sure whatever you take out, you put in. But here's the deal, guys. This is a perfect scenario. In a perfect scenario, you have every size of every capacitor you need on any given day. Guys, that sounds good, but we know that in every scenario, as service technicians, you got to do what you got to do. But here's what I'm alluding to here. The question is, now that we know our sizes, the question is, can you put in a bigger size capacitor versus what the system is rated for? The answer is, and once again, guys, I feel like the topic of this video should be unpopular opinions. Me personally, guys, I can tell you what I did, what worked. If I did recalls, I'm pretty sure, like I said, you guys seen the recalls that I put online. If I did 1,000,001 recalls on one particular method, then chances are I probably learned from that scenario and I adjusted, circumvented, and then we figured out, how to move and figure out, what not to do in the future. But guys, I can tell you right now, there's a bunch of things that, so I know what to do and what not to do. One thing that you shouldn't do is when you have a certain size capacitor, and just to answer this question, I don't want to give you guys too many semantics and then end up, turn this into a 35-minute video on a 2-second answer. But if you have a 35-5 cat, the question is, can you put in a bigger size capacitor than what is rated for? The answer is yes and no. Technically, you should, to avoid, voiding any manufacturer's warranties, you should put in exactly what the system is rated for. However, if you're in that scenario in which, it's Friday night, like I said, especially for you guys that work for bigger companies, you can't get in contact with, like I said, a part runner. At this point, guys, this is a no AC call. We're not talking about a maintenance. A maintenance meaning if this system is still working, you can leave and deal with this next week or in 2 weeks. But if this is a no AC call, if this capacitor is swollen up and, like I said, now it's leaking, now the outdoor fan motor is not running, I always say in a pinch, and this is only, once again, guys, this is only for you guys that cannot find the same size cat. If you can find the same size cat, if you can't get it the same day, try to get this up and going. Try to get the same size cat within 24 hours. But if you can't find that same size cat, you could temporarily put in a cat that's within 5 microfarads of whatever you took out. So like what that means is if I have a 35-5 microfarad cat, I would slap in a 40. And however, guys, and like once again, you're not going to find this on Google. I'm telling you this shit from real life experience. If I got a 35-5 cap and this is a no AC call Friday night, I know that, like I say, I'm not going to get any supply houses past, whatever they advertise. They may advertise that you can call the number up until 10 o'clock at night, but most supply houses ain't answering the phone, guys. And like, this is some real deal shit. Most of the time, like I say, you either have to have the part on your truck, you need to have a valid, you have to have a plan B. You have to have a valid plan B. Otherwise, like I said, not every situation, and I'm saying this on no AC calls. This is demand calls here. On a no AC call, not every situation a customer is going to be cool with waiting 3, 4, 5 days without AC. It's not going to be, that's not going to be feasible, guys. But I say that to say this. If I got a bad 35-5 and I don't have anything on the truck, for one, guys, a 40-5 cap could work. And I'm gonna bring up an honorary mention. This is something that I hate to do. I got to give these particular items a mention. And like I said, guys, I don't want to go against what I told you guys a couple of months ago. Let me make sure I fill this out right, guys. Because once I get going, I start writing in cursive, and I want to make sure you guys understand what I'm talking about here. Guys, if I'm in a scenario in which I don't have any 35-5 caps on the truck, before I put in the 40-5, which technically can still work, but before I do this, I'm going to slap in a turbo cap. Now, here's the disadvantages of doing this, guys. A turbo cap is more expensive, and this is kind of like cutting. What is the old saying goes? The old saying goes like you're cutting your nose to spite your face. This is a needless reaction. This is a needless overreaction to a simple scenario, but this needless overreaction can cover your ass and get the customer up and going just in case if you need it. Now, guys, when I told you guys earlier that, I really don't recommend doing this in this scenario. The only scenario, and I told you guys this on multiple videos, the only scenario that I recommend putting in a turbo cap is if you have a capacitor that's over a 60-5. Let's say if you got a 60-10, a 70-10, an 80-10, or like an 85-10, something very like strange and random. Anything over a 55 or 60-5, this is where it comes in handy to make sure you guys have your large and small turbo caps. In this scenario, guys, if you know you don't have any standard 35-5 dual caps, that means you should stick with your turbo cap. And like I say, guys, it's more expensive at the time, but can they get the customer up and going? And most importantly, guys, here's the thing. A 35-5 turbo cap, if you bridge the jumpers correctly, it will still work the same way. Now, let's say, and once again, guys, I'm going to play devil's advocate with you guys tonight. I'm not going to talk about perfect scenarios. Once again, guys, as a service tech, you need to know how to circumvent. You got to figure out how to find a way, even if that way is not present when you get there. This is simple. This is a simple scenario, guys. If you got a bad 35-5 cap, you don't have any on your truck, yes, you could use a small or a large turbo cap. But I'm not going to give you guys the easy way out because you know why? I want you guys to learn something tonight. If you don't have this turbo cap, let's say if you don't have shit on your truck, no large or small turbo caps, let's say if you use them all up. If, once again, using the same example, if you have a 35-5 cap, the highest tolerance that I would recommend is probably 5 microfarads. I'm talking on either end, but once again, it's like a 24-hour window. If I do a 35, even if, once again, guys, and I'm going to reiterate this, if I have a 35-5 microfarad dual cap that's bad, a 40-5 cap could work, but make sure you can come back with a 35-5 cap within 24 hours. Reason being, guys, this, and like I said, I don't feel like I have to draw this on the board, but if you put a bigger cap in for what it's rated for, I don't care if it's 40-5 or 45-5. If you put in a bigger cap, that could alter the starting torque, and before you know it, guys, this bigger cap, meaning 40-5, if you put in a 40-5 dual cap for 35-5, this could alter the starting torque and eventually cause issues with either your compressor or your fan motor. Now, guys, once again, if the manufacturer recommends a 35-5 and you put in the 40, do you want to deal with this liability? Me personally, I don't want to deal with this liability. Now, if I did this to get a customer up and going, on a Friday night, for instance, tonight is what, Friday night or Saturday night? Today is Saturday. So on a Saturday night, if I get a no AC call and I had to put in a 44-35 just to get a customer up and going, best believe, like I said, I can pretty much, if I can't get in contact with a supply house, the same day, any other supply house, I can get them on the phone the next morning. Best believe I'm coming back with either a 35-5 dual cap or I'm coming back with a turbo cap. And like I said, guys, me personally, and I'm trying to differentiate this. Like me personally, as a business owner, I don't want the liability of putting in something bigger than what a system is rated for and taking on this liability, because I can tell you right now, guys, like I said, I've been on the wrong end of experiment and shit. This is why I have the experience of coming back and telling you guys this. I've been on the wrong end of putting in, bigger items than what a system is rated for. And now once things work for that day, you feel like a hero. However, once this shit doesn't work past like a couple of weeks, and now the customer's saying, hey, well, yeah, by the way, yeah, you came out to my house 2 weeks ago to fix AC, is still doing the same thing. And you go out there and you find that 40 well, not necessarily a 40, but let's say if you put in a 45 or 50, you put in a 50-5 cap for a 35, and before you know it, you go out there and now the compressor is short at the ground, stripping the breaker. And guys, like I said, anything can happen. I'm not saying, I think the old saying goes like whatever can happen will happen. You can't rule out, crazy things that you can't quantify from happening. But guys, I'll tell you like this: if you're going to be a daredevil, meaning putting in a bigger cap, I won't go past 5 microfarads, especially on the compressor side. On the fan side, I won't recommend going higher than 2.5. So meaning if I got a 5 microfarad, a 40-5 microfarad dual cap that went bad on my outdoor unit, the highest I would go is probably a 45-7.5. 5 being on my compressor side, meaning that's the highest microfarad length, and probably 7.5 on my fan side. So like, guys, if I got a 40-5 cap that went bad, and let's say once again no AC, and like I can't find a 40-5, a 40-7.5 can work. However, once again, guys, if you don't remember anything so far that I talked about, work on getting an OEM size cap as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'm not sure if you're going to sleep good at night knowing that you put in a bigger item. You don't know what this bigger part, what the additional wear and tear is going to be. If this particular item commands a bigger start torque than the unit is rated for, now this 40-5, that is rated for, if you put in a 45-10 or something like that, guys, like I don't want to deal with those headaches. And like, once again, guys, I put in compressors, I put in many compressors that, like I said, we killed either from, wiring issues or bigger, capacitors. Guys, I already seen this, I already been through worst case scenarios. I'd rather not pester you guys with like perfect scenarios, because once again, guys, we can hope for the best. The old saying goes, you hope for the best, but you got to plan for the worst. So like, I can hope for the best. I can talk some hopeful shit with you guys all day, but I'm talking that service techs. I'm not talking install or sales. I'm talking for you guys to show up to a customer's house once things break. This is what you guys will see. You're not going to see, like I said, perfect scenarios. You have to know how to first identify what the issue is, and two, you got to know how to figure this shit out. And I mean, once again, guys, like this is not going to be pretty. You got to do what you got to do to get them up and going. But if you can come back, the next day, hopefully within 24 hours, upon fixing the issue, put that call in. If you guys got to do this yourself, call a local supplier, especially in the summertime, especially when it gets, next week is going to be 90 degrees. Once it gets real hot, or in the wintertime, once it gets real cold, I mean, most supply houses, probably overly staffed people to make sure that they have someone that that can answer the phone whenever someone, like I said, calls them. So like, guys, like I said, during shoulder seasons, maybe not so often, but during peak seasons, when it gets real hot, real cold, you're not going to like have a supply house not answer the phone for 4 or 5 days. That's not realistic. So guys, like I said, to answer my question that I put on the board, can you put in a bigger size cap than what the system is rated for? Yes. On the compressor side, 5 microfarads is the max. On the fan side, 2.5. So I would go. And once again, guys, I really don't feel like drawing this shit on the board, but like I'll put this on the board anyway for illustration. 5 plus. This looks like an ST. So like, let me make 5 plus, and this is a 2.5 plus. And I'm going to do this for different colors. Let me break this down here. So, guys, once again, I'm going to give you guys the parameters. If I got a 35-5 cap, the highest you can go on the compressor side to get a customer up and going is 40 microfarads. And the highest you can go on the fan side it's 2.5. So if I got a 35-5, I wouldn't do more than the 35-7.5. And like I said, the 7.5 can definitely get, the fan motor up and going. However, if the issue is the cap, now if the issue is with the fan motor, putting in the bigger cap is not going to work. Even if it works, I think probably within a couple minutes, you're going to go right back to where you guys started here. So I wouldn't get so, keyed in to like guys, like I said, it's always something that can happen that you can't quantify. And like I said, you'll have to figure it out, as things happen, as things develop. But for one, make sure, like I said, I always tell you guys all the time, like I made maintenance videos now for years. It's probably going to be this way for a long time. Make sure you guys give yourselves some play, especially with, no AC calls. I always talk about the tolerances on capacitors, on maintenances, but you do have some play just to get a customer up and going. If you got to put in a 40 for a 35, then like I said, get that customer up and going, but make sure, you call this in, or, you have to put that call into the supply house yourself, within the next morning, 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning. Make sure you come back and put in the right size cap. So like I said, guys, make sure, you guys are practicing good habits. Let me pick these markers up here because I'll be clicking on this board too much, guys, and that makes these markers fall. But yeah, guys, like I said, make sure you guys are practicing good habits. And like I said, it's not really much to it. You just gotta, like I said, understand what the system is rated for. I don't care about what you have on the truck. Once again, like I said, I don't want to get too far off topic here, but make sure you guys do understand, what the system, what the capacitor size is rated for. If you don't know this, look at previous videos. I'm not going to talk about something I already made in shorts, but guys, we got to get into the next topic here because I want to stay efficient here with time. Now this is going to be the next topic here. And I didn't make this diagram because, like I said, guys, just putting in the bigger cap size, I feel like that was its own topic. I want to make sure you guys understand this. But the next question is, and this isn't AC related, but how do you wire up lower the cutoff? Now, to understand the lower the cutoff, once again, we're going to go back to this boiler. Guys, you're going to see this diagram a lot. I feel like I should put my autograph on this. In the future, this diagram is going to be worth a lot of money here because this is going to be something I'm going to relate to often with boiler issues here, guys. Now, here's the deal, guys. I'm going to draw the diagram on the board. Give me a second here. But before I draw this on the board, this is, once again, a hydronic heating boiler. You got your burners, you got your boiler relief valve, you got your vent pipe, you got your supply pipe, which turns into my expansion tank, my air scoop, and my air vent. And once again, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zone boiler. And you have 5 different zone valves here. Zone valves basically means that you have 5 different thermostats that controls when the zone valve opens and closes. Now, guys, once again, this is a supply that's going to my area that needs to be heated. Now, once the area gets heated and the cold water comes back, this is my return pipe. You got your ball valve, your drain valve, and like I say, your let me see this. Hold on, guys. You got your drain valve and you got your ball valve here. Let me make sure I'm keeping up with the illustration here, guys. The L's is my drain valves and the boiler drain, which is how we open up each and every line to bleed air if need be. That's there, blasey blasey. And going down is my return header. And once again, guys, you have your ball valves before and after the circulator pump. And that explains this illustration. But guys, I'm not here to talk about illustrations. We got to talk about lower the cutoffs, guys. Now, lower the cutoffs, I think this one is a watchdog or a bird dog. I think it's watchdog. Guys, the watchdog, I think they make what the hell is it? They make float switches for air handlers and coils. Now, guys, here's the thing. You're not going to have a need, or you're not going to necessarily need a float switch on a hot water or steam boiler. However, if something happens to this boiler in which water leaks out, I didn't put the temperature pressure gauge on this boiler, but let's say if this boiler is up to like 12 to 15 psi, if the water leaks out this boiler, you need something that's going to turn this off, because guys, if this boiler tries to fire up, think about this, guys, and like, I don't want to draw this on the board, so I'm going to try to explain this here. But inside this boiler, you have a heat exchanger. This heat exchanger is nothing more than just a hollow coil. Think about this like a hollow coil that heats up with nothing but carbon monoxide. The vent pipe takes the carbon monoxide out of the boiler, but the heat from that heat exchanger is what permeates through the supply pipe. And like I said, guys, you have to understand, you have a heat exchanger with a coil, which is nothing more than just a hollow coil, but the whole internal chamber of this boiler is just cold water. And once again, guys, the circulator pump is bringing cold water from the house back to the boiler. The heat exchanger is probably 200 or 300 degrees. Once this 200 or 300 degree coil is meeting cold water, guess what's going to happen? The heat exchanger is going to get colder, but the water, which is around this, is going to get warmer. And that is how the boiler, like I said, distributes heat from the house. And once the cold water from the house comes back to the boiler, that goes back to what I just said, and the cycle repeats itself. Now, since we know that, let's say if this boiler develops a water leak. If this boiler develops a water leak, one safety, and like I said, guys, you guys might not think this is important, but in certain applications, if you don't have something that can turn this boiler off, this can be a very dangerous situation. If this boiler tries to relight itself with less water, now the internal temperature goes up. And once again, guys, I don't know what to relate this to. Let's say, for you guys that's on the East Coast, let's say, like I said, if you have, most of these buildings in New York is operated by like probably chillers and cooling towers. But let's say in the wintertime, if, like I said, this building here has one of these boilers in the basement, if one of these boilers that I just mentioned loses water, let's say if this is like a regular leak, and let's say if water leaks out, if the internal temperature goes up, this boiler is going to turn into a pressure cooker. And like I said, guys, with how everything is recorded now, and everyone has cell phones, this is going to turn into, like I said, some type of viral video. Hey, something just shot out of a building. We thought it was a person. No, it was a boiler that shot out of a commercial building. Yeah, we found out that this boiler had a water leak, and someone forgot to put a low water cutoff on it, and now this boiler decided to stay on, and the internal temperature got up so high that guess what? This boiler turned into a pressure cooker. And guys, if you don't know what a pressure cooker is, look this shit up on YouTube and Google. The internet is your friend, but a pressure cooker is, like I said, if the temperature goes up past a certain point, if you don't have a way to relieve that internal pressure, this shit is going to turn into a projectile. And like, hopefully you don't have any casualties, but that's usually what happens with, boilers. And this is why low water cutoffs were invented, because before low water cutoffs, guys, we didn't know what was going on until someone died. And that's just, once again, I mentioned this in previous videos with low water cutoffs with steam boilers. You guys should look that up. I got that on Instagram and YouTube. But I'm telling you guys, like I said, most of these safety controllers, this stuff was invented because someone probably died because they didn't have this before. So like, this shit sounds crazy, guys, but like, you need to understand that, like I said, most of this stuff was invented because of, like I said, something bad happened. So like, it sounds crazy, but this guard dog, I said watchdog, guard dog and watchdog, they both make the same shit. But let's get into this here. Now, as far as I told you guys the reason for this, but now we're going to get into how to hook this up here. And like, I didn't talk about this before, guys. I got a bunch. And here's the thing, guys. I got a bunch of wiring diagrams. I didn't really think I'll need it, but like, I kept a bunch of shit over the years. And like, guys, I don't even know. Here's the thing, guys. I make so much content. I don't know what video I actually put this in. I actually replaced one of these, one that was leaking or one that was bad. I think this one was shorting out a boiler. But guys, I'm trying to make things relatable to the current season that we're in. But nonetheless, guys, like I said, controls are controls. So I feel like what I'm talking about now, like I said, you guys see this next fall or this upcoming fall 2026. I think this will be like more beneficial, but nonetheless, guys, here's what we got. This is the actual lower the cutoff. I'm talking minus the wires. You just unscrew. Well, for one, you have to drain the boiler down. Unlike the Aquastat, and luckily, I got one of these here. Unlike the Aquastat here, in which you have the temperature probe here, but the well that goes around this probe here, you don't have to drain the boiler down. The well is actually hollow. And this temperature probe just senses the ambient water temperature, and this just screws onto the boiler. Now, however, guys, unfortunately, this guard dog lower the cutoff, you don't have that luxury. So, like, let me just get this out the way here. Now, unfortunately, you don't have that luxury. So, like, with this, guys, you don't have a well. Literally, you just have a T. And, like, this is where I may have to draw this on the board, because by me trying to explain the setup here, unless you guys already seen this rather recently, this may be a foreign concept to y'all. So I'm going to draw in multiple colors here. Let's see here. I'm going to do a one zone setup here. Got my circulator pump. And once again, guys, I'm just drawing the boiler with a lower the cutoff. And once I draw this, I think you guys will be able to ascertain exactly what I'm talking about here. Because without this diagram, I can't imagine. This will sound here. All right, so let's say we got 180. And guys, I'm using 180 as an example because that's what our limit switch, and like, I mean, hot water limit switches, it could vary. Like, it could go up from 120. I mean, it could be 180 as high as like 220, 230. Like I seen, well, actually, no, that's furnace limit switches. Guys, right now I'm still in furnace. Like, for some reason, I'm all over the place right now. With hot water limit switches on boilers, it's usually 180. With furnace limit switches, it can be as high as like 220, 230. You're not gonna, especially, like, here's the thing, guys. Unless you're dealing with a gravity furnace, which is something that I feel like you guys, unless you've seen this, I did a few service calls on gravity furnaces. Gravity furnaces don't have a blow motor, so like that's a different type of setup. But like with unless you're dealing with like a system without I'm talking a forced air system without a fan motor, that will be a little bit different. But like, I'm not going to confuse you guys with that, because like those type of systems, once they break, most manufacturers stop making parts for them. So like, guys, I can't even give you like a feasible scenario in which, you'll need to like see a gravity furnace. I mean, those are cool, seeing dinosaurs, but the issue with most dinosaurs is not the dinosaur itself, but like once that manufacturer discontinues parts for those units, I mean, putting in universal parts, that's your best bet. But if those universal parts doesn't line up with the current setup, then like I said, guys, like this is something you got to explain to customers. And like most of the time, do that customer want to like go into replacing a circulator pump, and which you'll have to replace half the header to get the new pump to go in. And also, if you put in that new circulator pump, she still has a 50-year-old boiler or 50-year-old heater. And like, guys, this is something that, like I said, this is all common sense. This has nothing to do with you selling shit to people, but you need to have some integrity and make sure the customer understands good and worst case scenarios. Best case scenario is if, like I said, we put this in with minimum issues. Yeah, that's great. That's what we want in our head, and that's what the customer wants in their mind, as far as what, like, say, repairs with minimum cost and minimum labor. But one thing you need to like paint a picture of, and not just explain it, is bring the customer down to the equipment and make sure that they know that, like, hey, like, if this doesn't work out, according to plan, here's what can happen. XYZ, space, size, yazi, blase. And this is what you guys should know. If you don't know, then like I said, you need to, go back to the drawing board of how your procedures are and make sure you get this shit right. Because once we get into the busy season of AC, guys, this is too late to train. It's either you know what the fuck to do, or like you said, you're gonna fail, and you have to learn from your failures if you got the right mentality, guys. So, but all right. But with that being said, I need a blue marker here because I already did the red with the 180. I'm gonna do let's do like a one, which is not realistic, but let's do a 100. We're gonna do a 100, yeah. All right, and I didn't even draw the burners, which I don't think is important, but fuck it. I'm gonna put a burners here. All right, and we're gonna show love to some standing pilot bullers. For those bullers that's out there that's working, that hasn't been broken down within years. This is an ode to you. Where is my shit here? Hold on, guys. Where is my damn? All right, here we go. All right, guys, I was looking for this. This is what I use, so I don't have to point to the board every time. But here's what we got. We got our flames. We got our burners. We got our boiler. We got our supply header, which is 180 degrees, hypothetically speaking. And this is going to the house. And what's coming from the house, the house is already hot. If the house gets hot, the pipes gets colder. Now, instead of 180, we're down to 100 degrees. And this, once again, is our circulator pump, which is going to bring that colder water back to our boiler. Now, guys, you need to understand the setup before you understand lower the cutoffs here. Now, with lower the cutoffs, guys, like I'm going to breeze through the installation setup here. I had to put this on the board for you to understand what I'm about to go over here. This small item here, this screws into a black T. And this is 3/4. So you put in a 3/4 T. I'm talking on the boiler itself with the female or the middle piece sticking out. And that is what this part screws into. And of course, this is an LED enabled lower the cutoff. And you have different variations. You have the UWH RB24B, UWH RB24A. You got the 24S, and you have the 24L. I'm not going to get into that, guys. Like, that's not the purpose of this stream. I don't have each and every one of these lower the cutoffs here. But determine where to install the lower the cutoff. And guys, like I said, I'm probably going to do this a lot if I have the time, for one, and for two, if I had the actual installation instructions in front of me. I have no problem going through installation instructions with you guys. I feel like most technicians, even if guys, like I'm talking people that work at your company, even if they don't explain this to you, everybody looks at the installation manual. Otherwise, who the hell would install one of these lower cutoffs without knowing how it's supposed to be hooked up? So like I said, this is where you have the ego, and like I said, the whole, the bullshit that comes with HVAC, get that out of your head. I'm talking for you younger service techs. Always try to ascertain, understand everything for yourself. And like I said, guys, never just assume something is the way it is because of what someone told you. Always try to seek for yourself and understand. Like I said, this is where you can't be lazy. You have to have some type of, drive and determination. You'll once again, you're going to get your answers based on, how much time you're willing to put into this. Watching these videos is not going to be enough. You can't be lazy. Like I said, you got to put a bunch of time into this. I can pretty much explain this in, like I said, layman terms, because I already been through worst case scenarios. And this shit isn't really, like I said, this is not laborious, guys. And I want you guys to learn this. Look, guys, I'm telling y'all now, I want y'all to double up on y'all lexicons. Like I said, I want y'all to understand different languages. I want y'all to understand different ways of saying the same shit. Like, everything I'm telling y'all, like, this shit can be laborious, but like, guys, the shit I'm telling y'all, like, I can do this shit in my sleep. I don't give a fuck. Like, This has nothing to do with money. This has nothing to do with, like I said, I can't give you a perfect scenario because like I've been through the rigors of ABCs, going from A to Z and then figuring out that like, hey, we fucked up somewhere between G and Q somewhere. Like, let's ascertain like how do we go wrong with, like, I'm talking me personally, how did I go wrong with like assuming that, hey, every single buller call is a bad pilot light? How do I go wrong? Guys, if you don't have that type of wherewithal in your head, like, this is where most people will think you're crazy because like, and most people are not going to understand this shit because they don't care about it, and that's cool because that's them. But if you have that wherewithal of like, you know what, the status quo is the status quo, but you want to push that buck even farther, guys, the sky's the limit. But like, this ain't a motivational stream, guys. Like I said, I gotta stick to the script here. But with that being said, let's get to the buck here, guys. Determining where to install a lower the cutoff. Determining where to install the probe control based on the following requirements. A, if the tappings are provided on a boiler, install the probe control in one that is above the minimum safe water level as specified by the boiler manufacturer. If no specified minimum safe water level is designated, contact the boiler manufacturer. Now, this is important. It just tells you if no tapping is required, install the probe on the header or riser pipe above the boiler. Make sure that the tapping is above the water level. And this is essentially what I got on the board, but I'd rather go off of the illustration here because this is a little bit more detailed versus what I got on the board. So you guys see this here? This hot water, once again, this is a hot water gas boiler. That is what I got on the board here. And I don't think my temperature difference is going to like really make a difference here. But as you see here, this is my return. This is my boiler. This is my vent pipe. And you see here, the minimum safe water level, like what this thing said here. If you don't have tappings, if you don't have an existing, when this thing says tapping, guys, that means you will have a tapping if you had an existing lower the cutoff on the system here. Like, once again, guys, on this particular lower the cutoff, I had an existing tapping because the old lower the cutoff, it got rusted, and I think it shorted out the transformer. Now, if I didn't have this scenario happening, let's say if a customer had the boiler and maybe the township required a lower the cutoff for every hot water boiler, regardless of the age or the condition, that will be different. That is what this is alluding to. If tappings are there on the boiler, in one way that's above. Basically, if you have tappings already on the boiler, install it that is above the minimum safety level. Meaning you're not going to install a lower the cutoff at the bottom of the boiler. You're going to make sure that the lower the cutoff is above the safety level here. And like, once again, guys, this is just nothing more than just the installation instructions. Whatever you guys buy, it should come with some literature to make sure you know how the manufacturer of that part wants the items installed. But like I said, with this, it tells you to install this 3/4 above the boiler. And you see here, 3/4. Once again, the opening is 3/4. It says 3/4 MPT tapping. This should already be on the boiler. Now, what I've seen, guys, is like, it's either one or two ways you can do this. Depends on the age of the boiler. If this boiler is 100 years old, I'm not recommending you guys open up the tapping on the side of the boiler. I'd rather cut into the supply or the return. That's easier to do. For one, you have more space. And for two, getting that bushing out of not the bushing, getting that 3/4 cap out the side of that boiler, because past 20 years old, I feel like if you open that damn tap up, it might leak. Like, guys, I've worked in Philly. I worked in like older areas in New Jersey. Like I said, some scenarios you have to think before you start using your tools, guys. And this is real shit. This 3/4 tapping here, every new boiler has the tapping, but we're not talking about a new boiler. We're talking about an existing boiler, something that's been there for like, damn near 15, 20 years, this tapping, and like, let me see if this shit still works. Hopefully it's still, the ink is still good here. So I made a note of this here. This tapping here, you guys see this here? Where it says 3/4 MPT tapping. This tapping, you don't know the condition of this tapping. This tapping could be rusted the fuck over, and like you can use your pipe wrench. You can use whatever, guys. For you plumber guys, you probably know heating up, or whatever the case is, chiseling out, and like guys, I'm pretty sure some of you guys probably have crazy methods of removing, rounded out bits or whatever the case is. I mean, hats off to you, but me personally, I just value my time. Like I said, I ain't trying to spend 3 hours, unless I had to. I ain't trying to spend 3 hours trying to take out a bit on the side of a buller to put it in the low to cut off. I'd rather keep this rusted ass bit here. And like I said, locate my supply and my return, drain the buller down, put in. Once again, hold on, guys. Where is this T at that this thing specified here? Hold on, guys. Specified. Hold on, guys. This thing just referred to a T. Basically, guys, like I said, basically, no tapping. Iron probably where's probe? Hold on, guys. This thing didn't say a T, but I pretty much already know how to like ascertain the tapping. The tapping is a T. That's exactly what this thing is, guys. The tapping, when I say a T, the tapping, if I can't go off the side, meaning the left or the right side of the buller, for damn sure, if the supply return is 1.5 inches, 1.25 I'm gonna get an 1.5 inches. I'm gonna get an 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches by 3/4 T. And like, guys, I'm trying to like, this shit sounds crazy, but I'm trying to illustrate this so y'all know what I'm talking about here. 1.5 inches, 1.25 about 3/4. Oh, guys, like, forgive me for my literature. I write like a fucking doctor. Guys, one thing I can tell you right now, one thing that combines what I'm telling y'all to doctors can't write, but they can help people out. What I'm telling y'all, I can't write this shit on the board in the in the perfect literature, but like I said, I can explain what I write, and like I said, as long as I can explain this shit and it works and it helps people out, that's good enough for me. But here's the tapping. The tapping on I'm talking for a lower to cut off, is either going to be 1.5 inches to 1.25 inches, meaning this is the supply. Well, this is the piece that's coming from the supply to buller and going to the header. But the piece that's going to your lower to cut off is going to be 3/4. Now, once again, guys, I'm just debunking the shit that like this install. And I don't want to mark this up too much because I don't know what I'm going to talk about in the future. If I'm going to talk about something else, I don't want to mark this up too much and not be able to use this again. So, guys, like I said, I made a circle here, but I don't want to fuck this up too much here, if that makes sense. But here's the thing, guys, real quick. Once again, guys, if you have this tapping already on the buller, you just drain it down. This is nothing more than just a black T. This is a black 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches by 3/4 T. Once again, guys, the T, meaning the middle part, is 3/4 inches. That is what goes into this. But there's no well, so if you guys don't listen to anything I said and your dumbass try to unscrew this lower to cut off, you're going to get blasted and you're going to flood the house. Once again, this T and this aquastat is two totally different things. This aquastat has a well in it. You don't have to drain the buller down when you do aquastat, but you do have to drain a buller down to replace a lower to cut off. If you don't know that, you're probably gonna learn the hard way, guys. And like that is the best way I can explain it. But moving on here, guys, because I feel like I'm talking in circles here. This lower to cut off has a minimum safety level, usually 3/4 up, similar to a hot water or similar to a steam boiler. But always resort to your manufacturer specifications. It'll tell you exactly how high up to install this. Essentially, you want the lower the cutoff. Once again, this is a hot water gas boiler. When you're installing lower the cutoff that wasn't here before, you can put this in either on the left or the right side of the 3/4 taps on the side of the boiler, or you can put in 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches by 3/4 black tea. And like I said, this is going to take some craftsmanship. Like I said, guys, if you want me to if you have a job like this in the future, you want me to do this, if you guys want to give me $168,000, I would personally meet you on the job site, pay for my lodging, pay for my dinner, pay for my drinks. And like I said, guys, I would charge you $168,000 to install this part inside your house. So if you don't want to pay me $168,000, guys, make sure you pay attention to what the fuck I'm telling you, what I'm telling y'all right now. But here's the thing, guys. Moving along here, like I said, this is a conventional hot water gas boiler setup here. As long as you either have space or if this is a newer boiler, you can easily remove the 3/4 tap, or you can just tap this into either the supply or return. Installing this part is easy. Like I said, as long as you have plumbing knowledge and the location and the space, this is easy to do. But we're going to get into the wiring aspect of this here. So it recommends you putting this on the side of the boiler, but if pipe T is above the boiler, that's what this is. You guys see this here? Optional isolation valve must be installed. And like, I'm getting sick of getting up, but like I said, guys, I got my John Cliff eyes on. So like I said, guys, I'm walking gingerly right now. I'm not trying to sprain my ankle, man. But look, it says isolation valves must be installed. This is exactly the same thing I mentioned earlier with the circulator pump. Now, pay attention here, mofos. This is exactly the same thing that they want you to put if you're doing one of these. If you're doing an isolation T, you have to put in an isolation valve, meaning they want you to be able to valve off. And once again, put the T or you want to put the isolation valve after the T, meaning, and I'm going to try to zoom in on this. Hold on. I can't fucking zoom in. I think my phone is tripping, guys. Hold on. You see this? See where it says, this is my lower to cutoff. My lower to cutoff. I'm going to get this shit right. Hold on, guys. Hold on. So you see this T here? This T is what this is. 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches by 3/4. But look, pay attention, mofos. This is important. Why the fuck when I go back to this, it gets blurry? Come on. All right. This is my T. They want you to put the isolation valve on top of the T. So like in practicality, guys, if you need to replace this loader cutoff in the future, you can just turn this out. If you have an isolation valve, you can turn this valve off and you don't have to, it's going to take you way less time to drain the water down from the boiler, and it's going to take you way less time to purge air from the boiler, because everything from the top of the boiler going to the house, once again to the system, which is going to the house, everything is already valved off. So like this isolation valve is nothing more. If you can install it, this is going to save you a bunch of time with servicing. So that's why they tell you in the pipe T, meaning this is what I drew on the board, in the pipe T above the boiler, this is what they recommend you guys doing. The circulator pump could be on the supply or return. That doesn't matter. But if you're putting in the isolation T, this is going to help you valve off the T. And once again, guys, this is going to help you save some time with if you're having to replace this lower the cutoff or not. Now, this particular load, like guys, once again, this was an existing lower the cutoff that I replaced. It had a T, like literally, guys, I just had to unscrew it once I drained the water down out the boiler. But here's the issue. This boiler didn't have an isolation valve on it. So like no isolation valve, that essentially means that like, so I had to drain everything down. And once I replaced the lower the cutoff, I had to refill it, bleed air, and like I said, that shit took a whole bunch of time. But that's not the point of the video, guys. The point of the video is just like I said, we're trying to debunk the installation instructions. Now I already went over the the physical installation instructions. We didn't go over the wiring yet. The wiring is pretty simple, guys. But as far as with replacing this, I just use my adjustables, but you can use channel. Well, actually, I use my channel locks. You can use your channel locks, especially if this lower the cutoff has been in for a couple years. The threads can be kind of galvanized, so you might need your pipe wrench. But once again, guys, before you remove this, lower the cutoff, make sure, like I said, the water is drained from the boiler. And if you have isolation valves, make sure the isolation valves are closed. You don't want to be that, like I said, that, what do I call this? You don't want to be that slimy ass sleazeball that, like I said, goes in there and assume that just because you did this 50 times before, that it's going to be the same thing. No, treat every system different. You know, like I said, don't work on a system while the power is on, you know. But if you want to have an if you want to have an electrifying surprise, then like I said, have at it. You know, if you're wrong, you're probably going to get taught why you're wrong. But like I said, guys, I don't want to see you guys, or I don't want to read anything about you guys flooding the house. Make sure you drain the boiler down and valve off what you need to valve off before, you know, doing anything. So now, here's the fun part, guys. Here's the wiring. And guys, I ain't gonna look at none of the comments. I'm just in my zone. I'm in my element right now, guys. I am in my element. Let me see here. Silly Fallow from India. What's going on, guys? What's going on from India? I think they got hella mini splits in India. Hey, Silly Fallow, you should be telling us how to install mini splits in India. You know they got mini splits out there. Sarah Turner, are you HVAC specialist? Nah, I'm a lifestyle specialist, Sarah Turner. No, I'm kidding. No, it's mainly HVAC. Like, we do water heaters and shit like that, but it's mainly heat and AC, service, maintenance, installation. Like I said, me personally, I tell y'all, I was explaining this shit a couple of weeks ago, guys. Like, and this is to answer your question, Sarah Turner. What makes my content different than anyone else's? You can put me in front of any piece of equipment, and I can give you, without any scripts, without looking at anything, I can yap about some shit I either seen or something you should do or something you shouldn't do. And like I said, that's what makes our page important. That's what makes my page important, guys. Like I said, what we're building here is, like I said, this is an information hub. With everything being in order, probably not. But like I said, like the shit I'm telling y'all, like it may not be for everybody, but for that one person that it helps, either now or probably in 20 years, the job is done, guys. But with that being said, Sarah Turner, this is just strictly HVAC. But we got to get back to business here, guys. We got to get back to the meat and the potatoes here. You heard? Guys, real quick. This is the wiring, guys. We went over the physical illustration of how to hook these motherfuckers up, but that's not the point of this video. We got to get into the wiring, guys. This is how you make your money. Anybody can physically hook up a lower the cutoff. Anyone can physically hook up a pressure troll, but if you don't know how to wire this up, and you mess around and short out the wires, and now you got a bad transformer, guys. This is what separates technicians from mechanics, guys. I tell y'all, be mechanics, don't be technicians. Technicians, they know how to sell shit. They know how to, like I said, they know how to look good when things are going good. But guys, when shit goes wrong, and like I said, the customer right now, someone's going to deal with this. I'm talking to customer. Someone's going to deal with this, not heating wise, but AC wise. Someone's going to deal with, like I said, that company that came out and sold them a $89,000 18 series AC system. And like I said, they told them, hey, you shouldn't have nothing to worry about. They told them that 3 years ago. Now, the customer just turned the AC on. It's 90 degrees tomorrow in Pennsylvania. And now this customer is saying, hey, how come my house is not getting below 75 degrees? They called that company that sold them the equipment, and now that company doesn't answer the phone. And guys, I'm telling y'all, this shit happens every day. This is why I'm telling y'all, stay vigilant and make sure, like I say, you can handle customers' problems, because you're going to help a lot of customers out. And in turn, you're gonna hear a bunch of fucked up stories. You're gonna hear a bunch of fucked up stories about, like I said, what didn't work for customers or what did work for customers. And like I said, you'll be able to fit those stories into your particular, expertises, and like you'll be able to, like I said, based on what you hear, based on what you see, you can make adjustments, and you'll know how to become a better technician or a better business owner for you guys to have your own shops. But all I'm saying is this, guys, just to go back to what I just said, if you know how to physically hook up these controls, if you don't know how to wire them, then you're basically fucked, guys. Like, I don't know how else to explain this. Like I said, I'm not saying you're completely worthless if you don't know how to like wire shit, but guys, 80% of the game is not hooking this shit up. 80% of all issues are tied to electric. So you need to know how to hook up. I don't have my meter here. Actually, I do, but I don't feel like getting up and getting that meter right now, guys. But if you don't know how controls operate and what voltage is supposed to be present between said terminals, then like I say, guys, it's gonna be hard for you to understand service. And you know what, guys, you may get lucky, and you may, like I say, you may get lucky with 1 or 2 service calls, but this shit is gonna come back to bite you in the ass when you need to really get in and out of particular service calls. But guess what? Now you're there all day, and that if you're here on the lower the cutoff that you guys installed yesterday, you just got there 8 to 10, but guess what? You got a 10 to 12 that you got to get to. And now you can't get to that 10 to 12 or that 12 to 2 because now you don't understand how to hook up these controls. Guys, like I said, everybody goes to the ringer, but, the ones that's supposed to make it, you're going to figure it out, guys. This shit, everybody goes through it, man. Not in the same capacity, but, everybody has to figure this shit out, guys. Like, it's not really any shortcuts. This is black and white. This shit isn't popular. I can't lie to you and tell you guys that, hey, if you figure this out, you're gonna make $180 million tomorrow. No, this is black and white. This is monotonous. This shit is boring. But like I said, find your excitement in the monotonous, in the day to day, the phenomenal. Guys, this is all real shit. This is the phenomenalist, and I'm making up like guys, phenomenalist. Like I said, I look up new words every day, guys. That's one of my pastimes. I like having different ways of saying the same shit. Voluminous, that means like something that's like strenuous. That's like a different way of saying like strenuous. Like, guys, like this is some next level shit, guys. This is something I'm looking on looking at my personal self. Like, guys, like if you got something that's voluminous with this shit that I'm talking about here, guys, like this is not really something that, like I said, it's gonna be popular, but if you win it, then like I said, you're gonna find your way of enjoying it. Like you have to enjoy the process. Like, and I mentioned this in and I don't know what GMC talks I mentioned this, guys. Like you have to enjoy the process. Like enjoying the goal. The goal is great, but like the goals are going to be very far and few in between. But like if you enjoy the process of learning shit, then like you'll go way farther than someone that's only goal oriented. Because like if you're too goal oriented, let's say like guys, this is real shit here, right? Because this wiring shit, this is going to take me 2 seconds to explain. This is not going to be some brainiac shit here. But like, if someone, real quick, guys, if someone is like, is too goal oriented, and if they're not falling in love with the process of like learning whatever it takes to get to that goal, if they're too goal oriented, guess what, guys? The shit I'm telling y'all, you know what they're going to say, and you probably know someone or like probably seen someone that talk like this. Oh, no, I don't need to learn that, man. No. Like this, I'll probably wait until tomorrow. No, I don't need to learn this. I can probably pay someone to do this. Guys, once again, guys, I use the analogy of rungs on a ladder. If you're trying to like skip rungs on a ladder, if you don't enjoy this monotonous stuff, and like this has nothing to do with business, this is just HVAC, guys. If you don't enjoy controls, how to hook shit up, then like I said, guys, I can tell you right now, it's probably going to be a bumpy road for you. But, once again, guys, this shit ain't for everybody, but for the ones that it's for, if you can find, like, say, your fun in negativity, if you can find your peace, in in destruction and, like, when shit going left, I mean, like, you're going to go way farther than someone that just expects this to come together every single day, guys. And, like, that's just the real deal aspect of it. But guys, real quick, I'm gonna go into the wiring of this here. Like, hold on. I'm gonna go into the wiring here. As you can see, for you guys, real quick, if you know how to wire up, what is it, float switches? It's the same shit. Float switches and these low voltage cutoffs are the exact same thing. When I say that, guys, these low voltage cutoffs require constant 24 volts, meaning from R to C, but it needs to be able to cut off TNT in the event that this low voltage cutoff senses low water. So, like, guys, to explain this, I mean, I can't really explain this in a more basic term. Once again, for you guys that don't know how to install, float switches, that's exactly what this is. This is a low voltage safety. This technically is a load and a switch. The switch aspect is in between, like I said, what cuts off TNT. The load aspect of this lower the cutoff is what requires TNT. Load requires power. A switch is what turns power off. Now, I made a bunch of videos about this before. I want you guys to go back to my earlier content, and you'll be able to ascertain exactly what I just said just now, guys. But with that being said, guys, like I said, I already explained to y'all how to hook up lower the cutoffs and all this other shit. But guys, this is a topic that I talked about a couple weeks ago, well, actually a couple months ago. This is a topic that I went over. And guys, like, shit, what was this topic? I had this written down. It says, guys, like I said, I think about a bunch of random shit. Like I said, not every day, but like, it's a bunch of random shit that amalgamates. And like I said, if I have time to like remember this and like and talk about this is what ends up in GNC Talks. But like, guys, like I had this topic on my mind here like a couple months ago, and mostly like I put this up as a vote here, and I believe it was like, is it easier to win an NBA title or is it easier to win an NFL? Is it easier to win the Super Bowl or is it easier to win the NBA Finals? Now, for you guys that's not into sports, NBA Finals, you have to win 4 games. Like, you have 1, 2, I think it's, what is it? Is it 4 series? It's best out of 7, but it's 4. Your first seed, you get a first round bye. But it's essentially 3 rounds. If you're the first seed, you get 3 rounds. I'm not talking about the play-in shit that's happening now, but like, if you're the first seed, you got to win 3 rounds. You got to win the best 4 out of 7, guys. You got out of 7 games, you got to win 4. If you win 4, then you win. But here's the thing, guys. Like, in the NBA, to win a championship, you have to win at least 3 rounds. Being the first seed, the number 1 seed, you got to win at least 3 rounds of games. But in those games, you got to win 4 games out of 7. So regardless of what happens, I don't know in total, how many games that is, but in total, you have to win 4 games out of 7. You got to do that at least 3 different times. In the NFL, once again, guys, for you NFL fanatics, you only got to win 1 time to advance, but you have to win at least 3 rounds, meaning at least 3 games to get to the Super Bowl and like you do your thing. Now, here's the thing, guys. Like, I put this up in the poll. I wasn't that descriptive, but like I did say that, like, you know what? Like, which one is easier? Like, and I spoke this is last year. This had to have been last year. I spoke about this with the Gym Bros. I'm like, yo, like, is it easier to win the finals or is it easier to win the Super Bowl? And like the same shit my Gym Bros said, y'all said this. Y'all was like, yo, like, it's easier to win a Super Bowl. And like, I was like, yo, like, and it's instantly like in my head, guys, I'm like, what I think about it, I'm like, yo, like, it is easier to win the Super Bowl because I'm like, in theory, you only have to win once. But I'm like in reality, if you lose once, you're out. And I'm like, I understand that aspect of like, if you lose, you're out. That's some serious shit. You don't get a game 2 in the Super Bowl. You don't get a game 2 in the NFC Championship. You don't get a game 2 in the NFC Divisional. If you lose, you out. And that is what makes the NFL hard. But here's the thing. Here's what I want y'all to think about here, guys. Like, and this is some real shit. I wasn't going to talk about it tonight, but I got to make sure y'all motherfuckers understand this. Like, with the Super Bowl, fuck the Super Bowl. Like, that's assuming you get there. But like with NFL playoffs, you have to win one. You have to win to. It's everything. Every game is game 7. Talking in the using NBA examples. With the NFL, like, you have to win to advance. If you lose, then like say you're out. That losing and you're out, that is the hardest part of the NFL. But like, here's what this shit I was telling my gym bros, and this is what I was trying to explain to y'all a couple months ago. If with the NBA, like, if you use the 2008 Golden State Warriors, like they had Kevin Durant, prime KD, prime Klay Thompson, prime Curry, Draymond Green. I don't know who they had at center. I don't know if they had McGee or they had DeMarcus Cousins. The point I think now Cousins didn't win that ring. I think it was JaVale McGee and what's the other cat name? I've got the other cat name that they had there. But basically, guys like Iguodala, they had too. They had this. They had a supreme starting five, guys. All I'm saying is this: put yourself for you guys, and I'm telling you guys right now, for you guys that voted that winning a Super Bowl is harder than winning an NBA Finals. I understand if you win, once again, guys, I agree with y'all. If you lose one time in the NFL, you out in the playoffs. But with the NBA, think about it. Cinderella teams, and I mentioned this shit, and I remember this, guys. I was telling my gym bros this, the same thing I mentioned in the comments with you guys. Cinderella teams. Cinderellas, like, these are teams, if you guys didn't know, if you don't watch sports, Cinderella teams are teams that, like, say, you don't expect anything, and they just shoot up out of nowhere. They may have did their thing in the regular season to get to the playoffs, but in the playoffs, they're exalted. Like, they're doing the thing. But, like, you know what I realized? Like, think about it like this. This is what makes, and like, guys, this is real shit. Here's what makes the NBA harder. This is what makes winning the finals harder than the winning the Super Bowl. Think about luck, guys. You know what happens? Like, the common denominator between winning a Super Bowl and winning a finals? And like, this is what the ESPN, I think Perkins, I forgot who else talked about this shit a couple years ago or a couple months ago. You know the common denominator between winning a finals and winning a Super Bowl is? You have to be extremely hot, but you got to be extremely lucky too. How do you define luck? I want y'all to think about this here. How do you define luck? You know what it is, guys? Like, luck is just getting hot at the right time. And unfortunately, guys, this shit happens every year in the NBA playoffs, and it happens probably at some point during the NFL playoff series. Guys, someone always gets hurt on a good team, and like that creates opportunities for someone else on a different team to step up and take advantage of that weakness of the team that had that player to get hurt. And you know what I'm thinking? What if, you know what? You need to, once again, guys, like, you need to get hot and you need to have someone get hurt. And I'm like, luck in general, guys, like, and like, this is some real shit, guys. And I'm trying to, articulate this the easiest way I can without going off on a rant here. With the NFL, you got to get lucky 3 times to make the Super Bowl. With the NBA, once again, you got to win 4 times to win one freaking series, guys. 3 times. If you win 3 times in the NFL, you're already in the Super Bowl. I don't care if you don't win the Super Bowl. You're already NFC or AFC championships in the Super Bowl. I understand that if you lose, you're out. But, like, guys, think about it. In the NFL, 3 wins, you're at the Super Bowl. NBA, pay attention. 4 wins, that's only first round, guys. And and this is what I tried to explain to y'all. I didn't go into detail, and this is my bad because I think I got sidetracked or I got busy. You know how hard it is to consistently get lucky? When I say 4 wins get you one round, you still got the divisional round. Once you get to the divisional round, you got to win 4 more times. Once you get to that divisional round, now you got the championship. Now you got to win 4 more times. And if you win 4 more times, if you're lucky to get out of that, now you have the Now you have the NBA Finals, guys. Like, and this is where I was telling my gym bros did. My gym bros did not understand this shit, bro. Like, I understand you win 4 times and you're good, or vice versa. You lose 1 time and you're out. But like, you know how hard it is to win 4 times against a team that's supposed to be better than you. Like guys, for you guys that's watching. If me and y'all was on the same team and we was facing KD and Steph and Clay in 2018, how the fuck are you, unless one of them get hurt, and like, God forbid, I like competition. I don't like seeing anyone get hurt. But like, unless someone gets hurt, how the hell are you supposed to win 4 games out of 7? Like, I understand, guys, like I said, what's it called? The law of averages. Anything could happen if you give it enough times. Like, one game, like say anyone can go off for 50 points that no one ever heard of. But I'm like, what's the likelihood of winning 4 games out of 7? Not one, but 4 games. Is it easier to beat someone one time, or is it easier to beat someone 4 times? And this is what makes the NBA harder. And I'm telling you, like, think about this from the underdog standpoint, guys. Have you ever seen a Cinderella team in the NCAA tournament get lucky from the first day? No, these Cinderella teams, you have to understand, Cinderella teams are, like I said, the talk of the town. But like these, and here's the thing: Cinderella teams are like what makes the NCAA tournament worth watching, because like you can't pinpoint one particular team winning each and every time. And once again, guys, NCAA tournament, NBA, what do they have in common? This is basketball, 4 games. NFL, it's unlike, and here's the thing, guys, and I want to make sure that, like I said, we stay on top here. NFL, 1 game and you're done. The NCAA tournament combines both of those together. It's basketball, but 1 game, you don't have the game 2 in the NCAA tournament. And that's what makes the NFL and NBA both come together. That's what makes college basketball so important and so prevalent, because most of the time, guys, like I said, there's no game 2s. And that's the biggest drawback. And I feel like the shit that y'all talk about in the post, and like the things that my gym bros talk about, y'all arguing the same thing. What makes the NFL easy is what makes it hard, and what makes the NBA easy is what makes it hard. No one understands what it takes to like be an underdog for 4 games out of 7. Like that shit doesn't work. Like think about it with the Knicks and with the Cavs and the Pistons. I mean, I don't even care. Like whoever wins is going to win, guys. With the Cavs and the Pistons, I think that the Pistons are probably going to win. But like, who cares who wins with the Cavs and the Pistons? But like, the only thing I'm saying is like, if you're the underdog, if you're supposed to win, then win. But like, if you're the underdog, then like I can't see someone getting lucky for a long period of time. Because if you're lucky for a long period of time, you have to be great. Now you have to have an expectation for you to win. And like, this is where I tell y'all, like, I mean, like I can't, like I said, I can see Cinderella teams being lucky. And here's my thing, guys. Like, it is what the fuck it is. Like, y'all, and like I said, I'm gonna say, like, I'm not an Eagles fan, but I respect that team that won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles. No one expected Nick Foles as a starting quarterback to like, I mean, during that whole regular season, I think he replaced what's the cat name that was number 11 on the Colts? What's the redhead? I forgot this motherfucking name. He was doing this thing during the regular season, and then he got benched, and Nick Foles came in. I forgot this guy's name. He played on the Colts, and like he's out the league now, but I forgot his name. But Nick Foles came in, like I said, Nick Foles was balling, but like Nick Foles, like no one expected that team to like, y'all like, and like the cat that I forgot the fucking guy's name. Carson Wentz, that's the guy's name, Carson Wentz. No one expected Carson Wentz to like, when Carson Wentz was an MVP candidate in the NFL before he got hurt. And as soon as he got hurt, Nick Foles stepped in and like he literally picked up where Carson Wentz left off. And like I'm like, at that point, I'm like think about it, like you got an MVP candidate getting hurt most of the time, that damages the team. And like you have Nick Foles, someone that like said came out of nowhere allegedly. Now he's coming into the team and like they balling. I think he tied the NFL record for like what 6 touchdowns or something like that. Like he was balling during the regular season, but like in the playoffs, guys, like this is where I'm trying to explain this shit to y'all the same way I explained this to my gym bros. But like with Nick Foles, like with that team, that was a Cinderella team. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. With Nick Foles going into the playoffs, no one banked on the Eagles to win that Super Bowl. But like I'm talking against the Patriots too, or whoever the fuck they played. I don't know. They played someone that was supposed to beat them. But like that whole Nick Foles scenario, winning 4 games total in the playoffs versus winning 16 games, like that shit is not normal. If Nick Foles would have won 16 games, he should have been the starter from week 1. And once again, guys, like I'm just giving y'all the real rap. Like this is where I want to say the law of numbers or the law of averages. I think it's called the law of averages. The law of averages weighs in the favor of the NBA, and it goes against the NFL. And I'll say this once again, guys. The law of averages states that the more likely an occurrence happens, the more likely something is to fuck up. And you know what that means, guys? The more games you play, and I'm talking in the NBA, guys, 16 games in the playoffs, I'm talking not just like, I'm talking for like a team that just won 80 games in a regular season or 70 games, whatever the case is. The more games you play in the NBA postseason, you know what can happen? Your star player can get hurt, tear his Achilles. Your bench player, one of your key rotation players could have some type of issues. There's a bunch of things that can fuck up or things that can go wrong. More likely that can happen in the NBA playoffs than the NFL. NFL is only 4 games. I'm not saying the NBA is more physical than the NFL, but like, look at the quantity of games that they play. The quantity of games, meaning the more likely, once again, the law of averages. The more likely something happened, or the more time you give something to happen, the more likely it is to, like I said, fall back to equilibrium. And like I said, guys, if you play Joel Embiid 80 minutes in the NBA playoffs versus playing them 10 minutes in the NFL playoffs, guys, like NFL is more physical, but like NFL, you got offense and defense. Like NBA, you have the same players playing offense and defense, running back and forth. So it's like, guys, like this shit sounds crazy, but the only thing I'm telling y'all is like, you have to understand that the NBA, the NFL is tough because if you win or if you lose, you go home. But like, you got to understand that NBA, like winning 16 games as an underdog, that shit is unheard of. You may win one series. Like, what the hell is that team that beat the Mavericks with Baron Davis? The Warriors. The Warriors did win one series, but did the Warriors win the whole title? No. That's because the law of averages worked against them. The more likely you play as an underdog, you're going to get beat by the better team. And this is why I be trying to explain to guys that think the NFL is the more superior, is the harder thing to win, because it's just like, if you lose, you lose. But like, if you win, you only have to win 4 times. That doesn't make any sense. And like, I was telling my gym bros this. My gym bros was like, yeah, well, the NBA finals is easier because if you lose game 1, you can rebound game 2. But that's if you're favored to win. If you're not favored to win, if you're an 8 seed or a 7 seed going against a 1 seed or a 2 seed, if you win game 1 miraculously or game 2, like, think about it. Like the Sixers won game, whatever the case is against the Pistons. Think about it. You think if a team that's that better than you, what's the chances of you winning that in 4 games out of 7? You get what I'm saying? That's where a lot of people, you have to take, you got to be practical. You got to take your emotions out of the equation. You got to understand that, like I said, like the dichotomy between NBA finals and the NFL championship, it's kind of easier to win an NFL championship or a Super Bowl, because like an NBA finals, like the amount of games and the amount of shit that, like, you got to get more lucky to win a NBA finals than the NFL championship. Because I'm telling you, I'm not saying by any means, like, I'm not saying an NFL Super Bowl is easy, but like, think about the bullshit. Like, guys, I'm telling you, the more time you put into something, the more likely something can go against your way. All I'm saying is, like I said, as an underdog in NFL, Nick Foles, prime example, 4 games, you won. 4 games with Nick Foles in the NBA playoffs, they would have won 1 series. They would have got taken out the second game in the divisional round. It is what it is, guys. That's all I'm saying, guys. Like, all I'm saying, guys, is, like I said, I'm all these theories I'm telling y'all, like I said, with the NFL and NBA, the only thing I'm telling y'all is, like I said, it's easier to and this is, a lot of people don't think like this. They just think that hands down, if you lose, you out. A lot of people think that, like I said, it's easier to win the Super Bowl versus the finals. But guys, all I'm saying, I just broke down my explanation. I want y'all to think about that. But guys, like I said, there you have it. I just want to get on here and talk with y'all a little bit. This one should be up because, like I said, I didn't use my Wi-Fi. Let me look at this here. Hold on. Nope, I didn't use my Wi-Fi, and my cell phone is about to die. But guys, let me erase this shit from the board. And like I say, you guys know how I roll. This shit is gonna be totally at the whim. Nothing pre-recorded. Like I said, next week, or actually tomorrow, it's gonna be like 90 degrees. So I hope someone's turning on their AC. It's probably not gonna break tomorrow, but it's probably gonna break within 72 hours. If it's like covered in webbing and debris and dirt. But like I said, guys, be on the lookout next week. You know, hopefully we do a bunch of no AC calls. But guys, look at this. Listen to this shit. Next week, next Sunday, well, actually tomorrow, which is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is going to be 90 degrees. But like freaking Thursday, it's going to be like 60 degrees. And like, guys, I don't know. I think, look, guys, real quick before I let y'all go, I think they're probably doing something to the weather. They might be spraying something in the clouds that's lowering the humidity. I don't know what the hell is going on, guys, because like I can't remember the last time it was like it went from 90 to 60 during the daytime. It went from 90 to 60 during the daytime in May, guys. I don't know. I was telling the guy at Supply House, I'm like, it's either going to be one or two things. Either it's going to be 100 degrees until like December, or two, we might not have a hot summer. But I feel like the former is probably going to win out. I think we're probably going to have, like I said, an extended, we might have a late summer, a late start to the summer. But like I said, June and July is always going to be like hot as shit. And also August. August is like it's the late part of the summer. But like I said, guys, be on the lookout, like I said, for more content I'll put out next week. But guys, I just want to get in here and like I said, chat with y'all. It is what it is here. But like I said, this is episode 5 and 6. Be on the lookout for more. It's going to be, like I said, unannounced. If you guys see the live icon, be sure to tap in. But I gotta rock out, guys. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.